As the years pass slowly by, things tend to quietly disappear without much notice. Many buildings that were familiar have vanished, changing the face of the city. Majestic buildings that we thought would last forever have been replaced by pale imitations or empty lots. Among the first of those buildings to disappear was the old Hotel Hattiesburg on the corner of Mobile and East Pine Street next to the railroad tracks. This once luxurious hotel was built around 1908 and served as the Illinois Central Railroad passenger station for many years. During the 1940s, the Graves brothers recorded what is considered to be the first rock and roll record here. It was demolished in 1962 as the Milner Hotel. Another of these erased memories belonged to the old YMCA that was built on the corner of New Orleans and Main Streets in 1913 and served as a troop R&R center for Camp Shelby soldiers during World War I. This old majestic structure served Hattiesburg's young men for some 60 years before its demolition to make way for the federal court building that stands there now. Anyone who grew up in Hattiesburg recalls the 5-storied Citizens Bank building on the corner of Main and Pine Streets in downtown Hattiesburg. This landmark structure was home to the Citizens Bank, insurance agents, and lawyers for most of the 20th century. Today, the Forrest County Tax Building stands in its place. Another hotel that dates back to the boom years of downtown Hattiesburg was the Leaf Hotel, once known as the Mitchell. It was located on South Main, downtown near the railroad tracks, and across from what is now the Coney Island Sandwich Shop. After serving downtown for many years, it is now a parking lot. Several Pine Belt area schools constructed in the early 20th century have either disappeared or have been repurposed. Petal has had only one significant piece of architecture in its existence. That was the old 2-story school that provided schooling for Petal students from 1923 to 1981, when it was raised to provide a place for a quick stop and fast food business. This Petal landmark still lingers in the memories of all of us who attended school there. Just across the river on Bowie Street was the Lamar School. It was built in 1908 for families in the industrial area of East Hattiesburg. It was named for Congressman L.Q.C. Lamar. One notable former student was Lieutenant Governor Evelyn Gandy. In 1967, after more than a half-century, this Greek Revival building was demolished. It is now an empty lot. Just down the street from the school was the Sycamore Inn, named so for the sycamore tree growing through the roof in the center of the building. From its beginnings in a small red frame building, Eureka School became the first modern brick school for Hattiesburg's black community in 1919. W.H. Jones was the primary force behind this new construction on East 6th Street and became its first principal. Eureka School evolved as the black community's center for education, culture, and sports. Its powerhouse football team of the 1940s under Coach C.E. Roy is still talked about today. The building continued as a school until 1987 and stands today as a civil rights museum. The original Hattiesburg High School was built in 1911. But an ornate Tudor Revival front addition was added in 1921 by architect Robert E. Lee of Hattiesburg. The addition created a central courtyard between the two buildings. The building continued as the high school until 1959, when the new school was built on Hutchison Avenue. In 2007, an arson fire rendered the building useless, and it remained a vacant skeleton of a building until 2019, when restoration began to convert the building into senior living apartments. Another architectural loss in the Pine Belt is the old Art Deco styled Hercules Cafeteria located on West 7th across from the plant. Although still present, it stands abandoned and neglected with little evidence of its active past. Besides the cafeteria, the building housed a barbershop, a bowling lane, a pool hall, and a commissary. The Beverly DriveIn opened in 1948 at the intersection of Highway 49 and Edward Street. The Beverly was a weekend lure for families and teens, especially during the 50s and 60s. The 500-car viewing lot was often full on summer weekends. Many movies were viewed through fogged windshields during this era. The Hargroder family, who owned the Beverly, built their residence beneath the screen. Sadly, this Pine Belt icon burned to the ground in 2010 and is now an apartment complex. In 1957, Richard and Edgar Ward opened the Frosttop Drive-In restaurant on the corner of Hardy Street and 10th Avenue. Everyone still talks about their Lottaburger and frosted mugs of root beer. Frosttop attracted both families and teens from all around the Pine Belt area. But teens cruising the hot spots of the city-dominated weekend evenings. After 20 successful years, the Frost Top closed, and today the spot is occupied by a laundromat. Across the river, Petal's business center, known as the Corner, was located at the intersection of Main and Central. In the early days, the unusual combination of Rogers Service Station and Petal Drug occupied the southeast corner. Dr. Pugh's small office was located in the corner of Petal Drug. Across the street on the southwest corner was the Petal Mercantile, the anchor store for the corner. Down Central, across from the school, was the Petal Theater, which opened in 1948 and continued for some 10 years. Here you could spend an entire Saturday afternoon with triple features and refreshments for 25 cents. Across the alley was the Petal Post Office, where most residents had a P.O. box. Curry's Western Auto opened in the mid-50s and was Petal's source of sporting goods, hardware, bikes, and TVs. Lott's Jewelry and the Barbershop shared the white clapboard building, a place for talk about sports, politics, and hunting. By the 1960s, the corner had been transformed. The Ben Franklin store had replaced the service station and drugstore. Dawson's Pharmacy opened with a soda fountain for the after-school crowd. And Mac Rogers built a new modern pure station. Across the street, a new line of stores opened, including Rivers of Petal, the Grill Cafe, Petal Watch Shop, Nelson Shoe Store, and Petal Drug's new store. Across the alley was Joe's Barbershop, the stairs leading to the doctor and dentist's office, and Petal Mercantile, which continued as the anchor store of the corner and served as the city bus stop. Besides groceries, Petal Mercantile had dry goods, sewing materials, and hardware. Petal Dry Cleaners and Barlow's Radio and TV shop occupied the end of the building. Better Living was Petal's most modern food store in the 1960s. On the edge of the school campus was Roy Miller's hot dog stand, where guys liked to hang out playing pinball in the jukebox. Marcus James's Sinclair station was nearby for gas, snacks, and auto repair. Down the street, across from the school, was Young's Drugs in the old Petal Theater building. The Youngs were great supporters of school sports and activities. Today, most of these buildings have been replaced, and the quiet, comfortable atmosphere of the corner is a memory of yesterday. Historic preservation helps us to understand how our ancestors lived, built and decorated their structures, what values they held important, and how they socialized. It is sad to realize that so many of these landmarks are gone forever with no chance to renovate or save them. I hope this digital resurrection helps to regain some visual memories of the Pine Belt's past, and that we will preserve those that remain.